So I've heard a number of the Creative Morning chats before. I know that I'm going to stand in frame. Sorry.
No, you don't have to. Let me use frame. Perch. It's good.
I know that there are some which are very profound, some which are deep and meaningful, some which come with all the flashy presentations. This is not any of those. I just want to give you that warning. This is going to be a bit of a relaxed, chilled morning. Hopefully I will take you through, obviously the theme for today is abundance. So I'm going to take you through my ramblings on that. And we'll see where we end up at the end. And hopefully there'll be something valuable that you can take away and you can put on LinkedIn and you can type up and put as a post.
You all have to do that. That's
I was going to initially start a little bit about me. I don't know many of you in this room. I know a few, but I'm not going to give you my full life story, but I grew up in Harrow down in London and lived a pretty comfortable life. Let's put it like that. My parents are incredible. They'll be watching this at some point, I'm sure. But yeah, they have given me everything I need in my life. So considering the talk of abundance is one where you essentially have everything that you could possibly want. There is an overflow of whatever it is that is in abundance. I would suggest that my life at the moment, fingers crossed, has been as much as that as possible. I've not gone wanting too much. I wouldn't say that we are or have been wealthy in any way, shape or form, but I'll get to that later. Yeah. So I grew up in London, grew up in Harrow, relatively standard British life. Went to school, carried on, went to university, as you do as an 18-year-old, as many do. Ended up doing architectural technology. Nothing to do with what I do now. But that seems to be the current trend of going to university. You go to university, you study something, and then you end up doing nothing like what you study. So since then, picked up the idea of branding, marketing, creativity in general. Got myself into a bit of a love-hate relationship with social media, most of which is a love relationship, but obviously there are the downsides. And started working for the church initially as in communications, then started working as a social media man, an advertising man, as I was often called, at Status Social, which many of you know is or one of the first social media agencies in the UK, based in Derby, which is brilliant. So I was there for 3 and a bit years, and then COVID hit. And everything seemed to just change. Predominantly for me, that meant a number of things taking off at the same time. COVID seemed to be everyone was in panic modes. Everybody was going home. What are we going to do? How can we cope? I was there having a daughter, setting up 2 businesses, starting work at another charity, and really just going about life pretty blindly, but with the attitude of what I think is an abundant one, of abundance of opportunity, I would say. Thinking of abundance, obviously the term comes from Latin and it vaguely translates from sort of overflowing. So there's a Latin word that I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's abundare, something like that. But it translates to sort of overflowing, and the general tone of abundance is one where you have a wealth of or an overflowing amount of something. Now that most people, I suppose, I'll open it up to the room. What would you suggest most people think when they think of the term abundance? Anything come to mind? Everything obvious?
Stuff.
Stuff, yeah, an abundance of stuff. That's a big one.
Or, yeah, maybe hoarding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's material things,
Wealth, yeah, finance, obviously, and many people aspire for an abundance of cash. So nice to have, but yeah.
I think material things, but I also think of love, because in a way, love is easier to connect with than like.
Would you like to do my talk for me? That's brilliant. Yeah, an abundance of a love, an abundance of sort of hope. They're all great. The positive things to have an abundance, I suppose. My laptop's gone off, which is great. Yeah, so one of the for me, there's the things that come to mind: an abundance of cash, an abundance of opportunity, as I've been just saying, an abundance of knowledge. I think where we currently live in the UK, with access to the internet as we have done for the last 10, 20 years, that abundance of or overflowing of information has really given us that security, I suppose, as a country, as a nation, that within reason you can get whatever you want, and if you don't know where to start with something, there's a fantastic website called Google, which helps you go on that journey of, I don't quite know where I'm at, but there's things online that you can help in terms of knowledge. And I suppose, yeah, the thing for me for all of that is, what's the most important thing to have in abundance of? You could say cash, because with cash that gets you a lot of answers in terms of many people think that cash leads to happiness when you have an abundance of it. You can go out and buy something from Amazon if you're short on something. I work in a Derby City Mission up the road, which deals with people that lack cash or lack access to cash. People that have a, for whatever reason, challenging circumstance where money isn't always available. And because of that, everything else in life suddenly becomes a lot harder. When you're out of a home, when you don't have the basics, you don't have shelter, you don't have food, life can be hard. But so cash is a nice thing to have an abundance of. Knowledge, opportunity, but as you were sort of saying, an abundance of love, an abundance of emotional, heartfelt feeling. One of the key aspects that we aspire to have an abundance of at Yada is an abundance of community. So that concept of collaboration, having people around you where maybe not necessarily that can give you knowledge, but that can just give you that sense of worth by communicating, by sharing, by providing value to people, giving people that sense of the community in terms of loneliness. That's a big thing when you think of abundance, or I do. I think actually an abundance of love, an abundance of connection is vital. And without it, you end up going to some dark places without that. And I, particularly in terms of COVID isolation, I think put a lot of people in a place where they didn't want to be. And coming out of the isolation period, people have started to find where they are again in their life and where their meanings are, where their value is. So they're key. We're all creatives here in some guise or other. I know that we've got a number of photographers, a number of people that make things, a number of sort of speakers and poets in the room. And one of the things that I find is important in terms of abundance is that ability to share, because we all have something valuable to give to others. So while you might not feel like you have an abundance of something, when you share with others, you can give and provide that abundance by handing somebody a £5 note, which they might not have. Great, they've got a bit of extra cash, they now have something to spend. Giving somebody a valuable bit of artwork. They will be able to take that and it will add meaning to their life, giving their life a little bit of extra abundance. Sharing knowledge, sharing a hug is often all it needs to be able to provide that feeling of enough, feeling of overflowing joy, feeling of overflowing happiness that comes when I think of abundance. So yes, the three things that I think are my key points and takeaways from abundance and how we can generate more of it for each other is community, is making sure that we are spending time, spending meaningful connections with one another, going out and seeking that. If you don't have that currently, obviously, coming to a networking event like Creative Mornings, you're all doing it, which is brilliant. I know that there's people online. Come to the next one, is all I'm saying. Come and have that bit of community, and see what it does in terms of generating that abundance of all of those things in your life. And sharing. That's the other one for me is sharing and growing together, really giving value together, sharing intimately on a one-to-one level, sharing in talks like this, sharing just whatever you have to share. Doesn't necessarily, I'm not saying give away everything. I heard a good charity which I follow, Charity Water. I don't know if you've heard of it, but one of the founder of it is, his big thing is you don't just give back to something, you give. Because if you think about going through life and then you give back, then the giving is an afterthought, and that's not a positive place to be. It can be seen as a negative once you've worked hard in your life and you've achieved everything, then you're giving back. Well, great. But if you start by giving, the rest of your life will be fulfilled, and you won't have to get to retirement and think, oh, what have I done with my life? Where am I going? And what can I give back? You'll get to that point and you'll be thinking, okay, this is everything I have given, and this is everything that I've received in return. That's all nice, but this is everything I've given, this is everything I've shared, this is the value that I've given to others. And for me, that's where abundance, I suppose, is at its greatest level. When we as humans are connecting with each other, when we're providing value to each other, and when we're giving to each other and sharing with each other in meaningful ways, in hugs, in providing value, in sharing, telling people that we care, in sharing knowledge, in sharing wealth where we have it. So yeah, I think that's where I'm going to wrap up in terms of where I know it's been a shorter one, but the main takeaways: share and get together, community, give value, merge those two together, and you'll be doing something well.
Oh, thank you, Craig.
Is that all right?